Production that we've done that shows a little bit of Rare Dankness' history and the history of River Rock, which is the company that I'm affiliated with in Colorado, who all my licensing is done through. A little bit about that company and kind of what we hope for the future. Many of you know that Colorado just changed over to full legalization for anybody that's over the age of 21. It's the end of prohibition, basically, as we see it. Oh, here we go. Some of my guys are starting to show up. But yeah, man, so it's something that I've been looking forward to pretty much my whole life. I've been in Colorado for 15 years. The last 10 years, we've seen it slowly change ideals. People started realizing there was tax money that was involved that we could be making. And as we've seen in the U.S., our economy is in the shitter right now, and we need every dollar basically that the government can squeeze tax-wise out of us. So what happened was some real smart people got together and proposed legalization of cannabis for anybody over the age of 21, which includes 6 plants. You're allowed to grow on your property or in a warehouse or whatever. That could be any size plant. You're allowed to have 2 ounces as a resident of Colorado on you at any time. 1 ounce if you're out of state, which means any of you guys that are over 21 will be able to come to Colorado, go into a dispensary that sells recreational, buy your ounce or whatever, and you're good to go. You'll only be able to buy it kind of like here. You can do 5 grams at a time. I think they're limiting residents to like a 7-gram purchase at a time. So, but nothing will stop you from going, to 4 spots in a day and getting your ounce. Yeah, it's kind of the beauty of the whole thing. The reason it's kind of taking place is when the guys who were lobbying for this proposed it, they wanted to see the majority of the tax dollars spent on schools. So when you start looking at how poorly the school systems and education systems doing in America, and you look at how crappy our infrastructure has started to become, it was an easy sell pretty much to the fiscal Republicans that were within our state, and all the liberals and Democrats don't want to see this thing happen for 20 years. So now what we're going to see is a crap load of people that are moving to Colorado specifically to grow, to live, have that freedom. You're going to see tourism that's going to pop off. And it's going to generate millions and millions and millions of dollars for the state and for our government. Just from the medical aspect, last year alone, $200 million in retail sales happened in Colorado. Of that, $9 million went to the state of Colorado for whatever, and about 23 million went to the government. And you hear nothing of that. You hear nothing about the government of the U.S. who is, against cannabis in all forms, happily accepting $23 million from the state of Colorado. And now it's, it's pretty much just become about money. We are a broke country, and the best way to start rebuilding ourselves is through a taxation system of cannabis. Some people are against it. I've had this conversation with a bunch of my friends. We all said, at some point in the last decade, while we were sitting around smoking, it was like, man, if they would just tax it, make it legal and tax it, I'll be happy to pay whatever that tax is. It's like, well, guess what? It's legal now, let's fucking pay that tax. So, and in Colorado, it's going to be like 25%. So if you're buying $100, ounce, because that's where it's going to be, you're going to pay $125. We good to go? Yeah. All right, you guys want to see this? And then we'll do a little Q&A afterwards. Yeah. Let me give you a little introduction. This is my good friend Tony Missouri. He's one of the owners of River Rock, Colorado. When I had a dispensary. I was one of the first 50 dispensaries in the state of Colorado when the medical laws and stuff changed after being an underground grower for a bunch of years. I just came out and went for it. You know, if I'm gonna be legal, let me be legal. Let me pay the fees, let me pay the taxes, let me get sleep at night, you know, without having to worry about my doors being kicked in. The city that I was in voted to shut down all the dispensaries. So ultimately I lost my business along with 7 other of my friends that lost their businesses just because the city had the right to do that in Colorado. Instead of, you know, breaking myself financially by trying to fight it, I went into the consulting. I've always been a breeder. I saw the seed thing and consulting needs and genetic needs within the state of Colorado, you know, as something that I could help with. And these guys gave me a home. So it's been a real pleasure. We have roughly 80,000 square feet indoor facility that's, you know, 600 lights, 1,000 watt lights, full trimming area, full drying area, full curing and storage. And just this last summer, we built a 40,000 square foot greenhouse that's fully automated, light deprivation, computer controlled, automatic watering system. Yeah, man, it's like a dream come true. If you're a patient that is like very sick, and you know, we find we like to take the people that are suffering the most back there, and it does give them a little happiness, you know. Yeah. So without further ado, hopefully we can get this thing running.
And your water, your nutrient supplies, how are those? Are they
we use our water. Basically, I'm a consultant to the whole facility for genetics and for some of the curing aspects and just bringing the level of cannabis up. Ernie, who is our head grower, is also one of the half owners of the business. He uses a system called the Black Moon system. It's one of his own varieties of growing. It's kind of based off like the Lucas formula, and it crushes it, man, commercially, but we're dialing it in so it's a little more connoisseur, you know, a little nicer for the patients all the way around. I'm a grower, I love growing. If I can make as much money and get as much happiness from growing just hot peppers or chilies or something, I'd be doing that. But, you know, cannabis is where it's at, and it's where I've been put on my path, so.
Do you have an analysis lab close by, or do you have a lab that analyzes close by?
We have over 5 labs in the state of Colorado. Right now, that's really the only unregulated aspect of our industry is there's no oversight to the labs. There's no state agency that the labs have to answer to as far as their data sampling and the protocols behind how they have their baseline percentages for their machines to be run. That's why when we have stuff tests, we test it at multiple facilities so that we can kind of get an average of what we're seeing with THC and CBD, CBN, THCV, THCG, hard metals, you know, yada yada. Now the new thing is terp testing. You know, we're able to test for terpenes at a few of our labs, especially in Michigan where we have a big affiliation. And you know, we're seeing terps that we haven't seen that are normally seen within your normal realm of cannabis. Terps come back from some of our genetics. When you Google them within the pharmacology of modern science, you'll find there's already platelet disorders that are being treated through hops that have the exact same terpenes, or you know, other plants that share, you know, within the same profile that already have medicinal uses. But you know, that's one of the reasons I'm with River Rock is these guys aren't just trying to churn out a bunch of plants. We're developing CBD pills, transdermal patches. I mean, you know, it's next level stuff. I mean, sooner or later, big industry is going to get in on this. Pharmaceutical industry is going to get on this. And those with the most research and the most clout are going to be the ones that survive. Everybody else is going to get swept aside.
How's it going? We're having a little technical difficulty, just trying to get the audio to work. But yeah, just a little bit of some background what Scott was saying was it's difficult to do the tours like you were asking, But we started a thing called River Rock TV, so it's on YouTube, so anyone can access that. So on that, we have probably about 6 different channels. So if you go to our website, the only thing you'd actually see would be patient stories, just because there's stigma on the industry. So I tried to develop a medical platform for government officials, events, or anyone else that would be watching the website. And then when you get into more of the behind the scenes or more transparent, we do RD1, which is a Rare Dankness channel that goes from pollinating, pollination times, and open pollination closure room techniques, his genetics, covering all his different types of genetics. We just released a video Monday that's about 26 minutes long that covers each one of the new strains with a narrative of Scott. So we're getting a channel that's dedicated to the genetics. It talks about yields, it talks about potency, it talks about terpene profiles, it talks about from a grower's perspective of what you can expect from those. So instead of just a little seed pack with some basic information on a website, there's a 20-minute video on one channel dedicated to just some of his strains. Some of the other channels that we have is called GH1, which is our greenhouse channel. So you can go through all the greenhouse stuff. We also have Token Daily, which probably more people in the UK or in Europe know about Token Daily than us. The Paul Token. So there's constant videos that are out there about how we grow, the types of systems that we have. And so we try to keep it as transparent as possible. One of the main differences, I think, from the United States and overseas is the fact that we have to grow all of our own. So even California is a non-profit. They don't have constitutional right, and they don't actually grow their own product. So yeah, so we have, what's unique about Colorado, it's really not medical and it's not recreational. There's no such thing as a medical marijuana patient. They're just patients. There's just a lot of patients that seek help, and what we've done is developed non-psychoactive programs to help those patients with 10 or 15 different ailments and 5 types of cancers. So once we discovered the cannabinoids and those ratios that helped those different types of patients from autism, autoimmune, MS, fibromyalgia, Crohn's, seizures, Lou Gehrig's disease, Parkinson's, dementia, all those I deal with every single day. I've probably seen 2,000 patients, and I have 202 sponsored cancer patients. So we grow 286 strains in-house, all in soil, all under one roof, all with our own genetics, our own seed bank. I think that gives us a huge advantage when you put like-minded consciousness together under one roof. And fortunately, I'm friends with people like Scott and other people around the world to where I feel I've just kind of really tried to put the team together to support the bigger picture, which is what we developed this year, which is a program that I call ACT Now, Advanced Cannabinoid Treatments, and Scott touched on that. The patients that I'm helping, I'm sure you've heard in Israel with like Crohn's, 50% reduction from vaporizing cannabis. That's a THC application. Rick Simpson's oil, that's THC application. Hemp oil, it's lacking terpene profiles. So I've developed a program that doesn't use smoking, and it doesn't use edibles, and it doesn't use hashish. It uses raw roots, so it's using raw roots, it's using raw leaves, and changing the pH and ketones of the body. So about what you put into your body. So a lot of people are looking at me weird. 60% of what you put into your body manipulates the endocannabinoid system. That endocannabinoid system produces cannabinoids on the brain. Those cannabinoids in the brain correct pathways and cognitive function between the immune system and the central nervous system. So once you learn about cannabinoids and not THC, and you learn how to apply those from roots to leaves to patches to pills and cold pressed oils, then you can use those ratios and the saturation points in conjunction with nutritional support to eliminate cancers, tumors, and help correct any autoimmune or central nervous conditions. This video is more about the history of Rare Dankness and kind of how he started and how it kind of blended into River Rock. And so our two worlds came together between the non-psychoactive programs that we're developing and Scott's genetics. So 30, 40 years ago, they separated THC, we separated CBD, but ultimately the chase is finding those 108 land races, finding the right combinations of terpene profiles with THC as well as CBD, and then reversing those profiles. So with genetics that Scott has, his goal has been pushing the THC and those terpenes as strong as possible. And so even in a non-psychoactive program, utilizing concentrations of THC are important. So when we're talking about transdermal patches, that ratio is a 1-to-1 CBD to THC, or I have 3-to-2, 2-to-1, 4-to-1. There's not anything that I utilize that's all CBD or all THC. So if there's someone that's on 100 milligrams of morphine a day, mostly or narcotics, you have to be able to boost the THC levels without being stoned. And that's where CBD comes into play. So if you boost the CBD 2 to 3 times higher than the THC and using buffers, then you're able to absorb more THC and ultimately heal yourself.
Smart guy. Yeah, man. So, I mean, ultimately, we're moving forward as an industry as it becomes open, as it becomes more above ground, common day, normalcy. It's all about these relationships that we can build as growers, as breeders, for a common goal is to see this plant fully legalized across the world for everybody to use for whatever reason they want to use it, whether it's for spiritual, medicinal, recreational, sadistic reasons, whatever, I don't care. And to find, if not necessarily a cure for cancer or a cure for childhood seizures, but a pathway so that those people can lead a more normal life and lead a more, of less suffering. We all know someone that's been, struck with cancer or struck with terminal illness. Myself, I'm a cancer survivor. Anything that allows a person to cope, deal with illness, and maintain that positive mental attitude, and ultimately you have to be able to give it to them. For me, when once my company started becoming big, I realized we had a bigger goal here in life, a bigger purpose here in life. And, I looked for the people that were in Colorado that were pushing the boundaries, pushing that envelope of medicine. Actually looking at this plant as medicine instead of just like banging out eights and grams all day long, which is what a lot of our industry is. And now we're with these guys, and it's a happy marriage. And hopefully over the next couple of years, you'll see us in every state as it becomes a medical or recreational state alongside River Rock. So. It's a very low stress environment for me to work in. When I was just a consultant in this industry or just a grower in this industry, man, you were like driven by those 1.5 pound or 2 pound, goals every harvest. And then once success kind of happens, then you're allowed to have the tools to work and do what you love and do what you do. It's no longer a job, it becomes a life's mission. And, I get to wake up every day and go into a huge greenhouse full of plants that are, 24 feet tall, and, it takes eight or 9 people to hold hands and go around. And, I take a moment every day just to look around and soak it all in, because, damn, this really is happening. So we got sound. I thought I was going to have to beatbox for you guys, like this thing and stuff. There's no makeup involved. This is all high def. I don't do it for you.
Get behind the scenes and stuff.
technical stuff. But yeah, what you're going to see happen in the next year in Colorado is, a large number of greenhouses are about to pop up. 9 that I know of in the last 6 months have gone up that are over 40,000 square feet. Usually these things are $1 million, $1.5 million to put together. What they're expecting is 100 times. Whatever your business is right now, it's going to be 100 times that. But they're allowing you to triple your production. So if you have 1,000 patients right now, you'll be able to grow for 3,000 people. It's still a lot of plants. And when you start looking at the federal thing, which, it's still federally illegal in the U.S., you're way over your 99 plant count all the time.
How many red licenses? Really good. Licenses have been issued so far, and how many are going to be issued in 2015? How many licenses? How many have they been issued from 2015?
There's 340 licenses in the state, what they call a dual license. 90 of the 300 of the state applied, and of the 90, 1 of them are considered class 3, which serve more than 1,000 patients. So we had two of them.
So it stayed that way all through 2014.
Yeah, for 2 years. For the first 2 years when recreational opened.
For the first 2 years when rec opens up, they're giving the dispensaries that are already established, that are already regulated, that already have inspectors coming in now, that know the people that are there. They're giving those guys first dibs. So for 2 years, you'll have to go through one of these places that are already established. And then after 2 years, they'll open up so that anybody pretty much that fits within the requirements that they've set for a business owner will be able to open up business.
So that's 2016?
Yeah. My goal with all this is, I don't ever want to sell another dry flower, as long as I live. Seeds are where it is, genetics are where it is. I want to sell tissue culture. In the state of Colorado, there's a lot of genetics that we have there.
I'm going to try something crazy. I'm just going to hold it by the speaker.
Ghetto fabulous. But yeah, genetics are where it's going to be, and clean genetics as well. Because right now what's happening is you're allowed to sell clones, but man, you get clones right now, it's like a Vietnamese hooker out here on the courthouse or whatever. You get thrips, rusted mites, broad mites, powdery mildew, metrias, all kinds of shit. Seeds, you get seeds, but it's always seeds. In Colorado, seeds, it has to be produced in Colorado in order for it to be sold in Colorado. So no Dutch seeds will be able to be sold there unless it's for.
What seed banks are there in Colorado right now?
Me.
Yeah.
There's Rare Dankness and about 35 itty-bitty guys who are, associated with the shop that sell locally, that, produce great stuff.
Are you gonna sell certified clones?
Yeah, that'll be kind of the thing with buying clones from us, will be verified genetics, QS, hand selected by us, and they'll be clean. Ultimately, this video will be on YouTube, so if we can't do it today, you'll be able to catch it on YouTube. But yeah, man, we're living in a different time now. I had these thoughts with a bunch of my old friends that, I used to sit around 15 years ago and none of this. We would all, none of us knew all this. It was everybody.
There we go.
Almost 40.
I think a lot of, did you cover, you're a little bit unique in the way that you actually harvest your seeds. male and female, and you also only run kind of boutique runs.
Yeah,
So it's a little different than out here with the auto
yeah.
feminized.
A lot of what you see over here in Europe is auto flowering or feminized seeds. It's because the way the market is driven. I mean, to be honest, it's all about capitalism at the end of the day for the most part. And some countries, you can't sell regular seeds. You just got to use stock, even if they're great genetics. Spain being one of them. But last year, 200 million auto flowering feminized seeds were sold in Spain. So it's, as a business person, you know, you go, well, I'm stupid for not like trying to, but the same time from the genetics aspect, you know, what I've done for the last, 10 years, it goes against everything that I believe in as far as breeding. But now we're starting to move into CBD breeding. And when you start looking at breeding camps of CBD, if you're going male to female with some of that stuff, you're seeing less than 15% of your population showing any type of decent ratio because you're looking for recessive. So, a lot of your CBD breeding is going to be done feminized, and you want to see plants with a 50 or 60% ratio of your offspring that you're growing up, having those CBD tops. Is this something I'm doing? No. Is this something I'm messing around with? Yeah, I'm like feminized. You don't see me with a booth here. I mean, I get a lot of flack for not advertising and not doing it. I'm represented very well within the States, but I'm a small company, man. I've got 2 kids, I don't live a lavish lifestyle. I live way the hell up in the mountains. I prefer being around the woods as being, in front of this damn thing. But it's about the genetics. It's always about pushing this forward so that it becomes acceptable to everybody. So they choose that ounce of herb over 5th whiskey. Not that it's about keeping this thing as it was intended before we started, making it evil and villainizing it for prohibition. Hopefully that wasn't too boring for you guys. Ultimately we want to see this plan available for everybody. And what's happening in America right now in the next 10 years is really looking back. So thank you for giving me some time today. And
Private residence out on your lawn.
You read that today?
Read that this morning, yeah.
Because the laws before I left, which it's part of the biggest challenge. But they were supposed to allow us to slope the privacy of our home. The privacy of our porch, back and front, before I left. So the council said it was okay to smoke in back, the front of the home. Was what they were trying to pass. So maybe that's what they're talking about.
as we picked it up this morning, there's basically been no public consumption. You have to use it as a private residence. Even the last few years. It's going to be no different on the recreational passes. What you'll see is you'll have private clubs that will charge an entrance fee, and then all of a sudden you're in a private residence or a private membership or something.
Yeah, you know how it's kind of powerful here? So the way it works there is we already have clubs. Like, they're just kind of they're more like electronic clubs, music clubs, reggae clubs that allow you, because the security is private. So right now, you go to 4 or 5 places, smoke openly. That's a private club. Then you can smoke privately in your home. Like the way here is, you just smoke openly in the street.
But basically what they're trying to prevent is somebody who lives across the street from a school to be smoking over there.
And even smoking in the street is like less than misdemeanors in fine. So if you really wanted to,
Every once in a while, if you're, finding out, you know, your buddy, you're coming out to a Broncos game or a Rockies game, just had a big, go and somebody that smell or whatever.
yeah, you saw the lawyer, like Rob Corey, was at an actual baseball game with 60,000 people in the passage of a hallway where there's kids smoking a joint, blowing it in their face. I mean, that's going to be a trouble, but even the trouble's not a lot. And you really want to, if you want to come to Colorado, not to go around the city and smoke, eat out in public. You want to go there, mountains, skiing, like, it's a big open state.
Go take a hike and burn one.
Yeah, that's what I want. What they want you to do is go on hikes, go on like, you know, summertime hike where you go whitewater rafting, or you're going up to a 438 mountain, you go snowboarding.
I mean, on that note, if you're gonna go snowboarding or skiing, at least pull 10 feet into the woods before you burn a ball. You see all the outside guys, it's like right up to the edge and fire one up. It's just, you know, it's not really private again.
And also, part of why I came out here was to kind of see how it's done overseas. You guys have done it for a lot longer than I have a lot of respect for everybody. Yeah, Clay was waiting, Frank Lewis, Scott, everybody that's made the industry what it is. I just wanted to come here to see the United States and Europe. Out of those 280 strains, we try to collect, I'd say 30% of the strains. We try to collect different strains from around the world. We've got like forms, greenhouse foods, we've got the last one nice. Try to collect it, being green, Rare Dankness, DNA, we've got 3 or 4 DNA strains, we've got 3 or 4 the greenhouse that, you know, it's really about sharing the herb and trying to find the phenotypes, and then once you find them, try to duplicate them, provide them to you guys. And so, I'm going to try to make it happy, blend with marriage with the truck overseas, so it doesn't really seem that.
Come see us after January.
Have you seen, have you had any high